Hello, everybody. My name is Quinton Day. So I would like to start out a little bit, telling you a little bit about myself before we get too far into the speech. I haven't always been a city boy or anything even remotely close. I grew up on a ranch and moved to the city to pursue my college dreams. This is where my story begins. I want to tell you about two people that had a huge impact on my life from the time that I was just a baby. Yes, I'm talking about my parents. As I stated earlier, I grew up on a ranch in eastern New Mexico where we worked day in and day out to raise cattle that provided for our family. From that very moment that I could walk, my dad started saddling a horse for me so that I could go with him to work cattle. I know 2 years old, 3 years old seems kind of young, but he took care of me and wouldn't let anything happen. Now, my dad is one of the hardest working men I have ever known in my 34 years of life. He always strives for perfection no matter what we're doing, which, as you know, is almost an impossible feat. He pushed me every day to become a hard-working, respectable young man. When I say respectable, I mean respectable. It was always yes sir, no sir, yes ma'am, no ma'am. You get the drift. My mom was the same way. She was raised to be respectful and instilled it in both my sister and me. My parents married at a young age and moved to the ranch so that they could have children and raise them the right way. They didn't have much money, but they didn't need it. We always had everything that we needed. Just being the four of us, we were very close and spent a lot of time together. Being in the country, we were always at least 30 miles from the closest town, which seemed so far then, looking back, wasn't nearly as bad as I had made it out to be. Now, when I was a teenager, my parents expected me to carry the load of a grown man. Not money wise, but working on the ranch and helping out around the house. We would gather cattle, brand, fix fences, mechanic, everything that you could imagine. There was never any shortage of the amount of work that had to be done. To this day, the things that I was taught as a teenager, which didn't seem fair then, they make complete sense today. We would get up with the sun and quit working when the sun went down. I can remember one of the best memories was birthing calves. We always had at least 100 head of heifers to calve each year. That was hard work. We had to check on the heifers 2 to 3 times a day to make sure that they weren't having any birthing complications. Now, let me tell you a little bit about cows, heifers. When they have a calf, it's usually about 90 pounds. Now that's a big calf for a first-time mother to give birth to. More often than not, we would have to assist in the birthing process. I'm talking like it's something that there's an art to, but there isn't. We would gather the heifer into the corrals, put her in a chute to hold her from getting away, put calf chains around the front of the feet of the calf, and then pull them out with a coming along. Come along. That's right, I said a come along. I know it sounds crazy, but that was the process. There was something special about knowing that you saved a life and helped a mother in need. It was one of the best feelings in the world. My dad could do anything. He was and still is my hero. Now let's talk about my mother a bit. We have always been close. As I was growing up, she took great care of my sister and I. One might say that we were a little bit spoiled, to be exact. Yes, we worked hard, but we always came home to a home-cooked meal and a wonderful smelling house. Now don't get me wrong, my mom would be right beside us building fence most of the time, but she would head to the house late in the afternoon or in the evening to start dinner for the four of us. She has always put her family first, and I don't know where I would be without her. My mom was never one to stand around or be lazy. From the time that I was born, she was in the floor playing with me and keeping me entertained. One of the memories that I have with my mom was I was younger and she would lay me down for a nap. It seemed like I was 10 years old at the time, even though I was probably only 4. Either way, I felt like I was too old to take a nap, right? I would sneak out of my room and attempt to watch Days of Our Lives or General Hospital with her. I'm just sure that most of you know those two fine soap operas from back in the day. She was always patient and carried me back to my room. My mom was not only a great mother, but she was a great wife. She always put my father first and catered to his every need. Looking back on my parents' relationship with me and each other, I have grown a whole new respect for the family life. I am married now with 3 beautiful daughters. My wife is an amazing woman. She takes care of us like nobody else. She always puts us first and caters to our every need, just like my mother did. When I decided to find the one, I wanted her to be respectful, hardworking, and very family oriented. She is all of those and more. Growing up in the country, 30 miles from the nearest town, working from sunup to sundown, has made me the man I am today, and I owe it all to my parents. Then it seemed hard and sometimes unfair to be away from friends as I grew up and started high school, but now I couldn't imagine a better childhood. My wife and I bought a house out in the country and hope to instill the same upbringing that we had ourselves for our daughters. My mother and father are two of the most amazing people I have ever known and met. Thanks to them, I have learned the value of a dollar and that hard work pays off. About 4 years ago, they moved from the ranch to Amarillo, Texas, where we live now. We see them most weekends and they love their grandchildren. I am so blessed to have a family that loves and takes care of me. I wouldn't change it for the world. Thank you.